go. Hello, America. Welcome back to the game room.
Well,
how's everyone doing this fine evening?
You know, I think I'm doing dandy. It's getting warmer out.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was like 70 degrees out today.
Yeah.
I went out today with Flora and I wore shorts and it's March. Very strange.
I normally wear my robe when we record these, and today it's like, nah, I can't do that. I gotta actually dress in slightly cooler clothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually, I had somewhere to be today, and I even brought, like, a nice, like, light sweater, and by the time I was done walking, like, those 2 blocks, I was done, man. I was hot as shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always hot, but anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
Dave, you're already dating her. You don't have to keep kissing butt.
I mean, anyway.
Unless you're trying to maintain.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just work out and then stop. You have to maintain.
Wait, you can't?
No, sorry.
That's why my muscles aren't coming in.
Yeah, I'm
Damn.
sorry.
You are too, sweetie.
Thanks, sweetheart. But yeah, no, today was, like, shockingly warm, which is weird because it snowed on Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was also weird.
Mother Nature's out here throwing out temperatures like Powerball numbers. It's fucked.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And then, and we also had that earthquake today in Japan.
Oh, shit,
Oh,
yeah.
I was just like, here?
No, in Japan.
Okay.
Did tsunami or nah?
I don't think so. It was far enough out from Fukushima, but it was in the Fukushima area.
Oof.
Man, the world just really doesn't like Fukushima. They're like, we won't stop until it's all gone.
Oh,
So yeah, there was I don't think there was a whole lot of damage because, like I said, it was pretty far off from the coast. But yeah, fun times. Evan from years past, he said that he could feel it where he lived. He was shaking for like a solid 20 seconds, and he was like, "That was scary." So yeah,
Indeed.
yeah, fun times. So anyway, so let's talk about some stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, before we get started on that, how's everybody feeling? You played any good video games recently?
Video games.
Yeah, have you played any good video games?
I don't like where this is going.
I mean, I've played a few good video games recently.
Mm-hmm.
I played Elden Ring and Final Fantasy XIV.
I've played a lot of Elden Ring too.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of Elden Ring too.
I have not played any Elden Ring yet, so I am sad. But I keep seeing a lot of interesting things about all the Berserk references coming out.
There are multiple. They're like little poems about events that happened in the world, and they're graveyards of swords. And there's literally like 3 different dragon slayers in the game.
Yeah.
And one of them is a dual Berserk / Game of Thrones reference.
Yeah, I mean, Fromsoft just really has a hard on for Berserk. Like,
they do.
The older games,
They do.
Now, regarding their older games, has anybody else here played Lost Kingdoms from FromSoft?
Lost Kingdoms.
That was the card one.
No, I did not.
I
was thinking about Lost Odyssey for some reason.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, that game is ancient. That was my first exposure to FromSoft. I have really mixed feelings on that game. I usually just want to write it off and say, no, fuck that game, it fucking sucks. Because it forces you to hoard. You basically get these cards, you can just Yu-Gi-Oh! Summon style shit to just murk guys that come at you. And it was a GameCube game, so make of that what you will.
Wait a minute, is that anything, I'm sorry to interrupt, is that anything kind of like, I think, what's that game for a GameCube? Blue Kingdom?
Oh, I haven't played that.
Blue Dragon?
No, Blue Kingdom was like the Dragon Quest clone.
Yeah.
No, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to back off for a minute. I want to just see if I can remember the name of it, but what you were describing there, Vicky, kind of sounded like a game for the GameCube that was about like running around and using cards to summon stuff. No, Lost Kingdoms. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what you said, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was something different. Jeez. All right, I'm dumb. Never mind.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah, basically, in this game, you're playing as Princess Katya, and you're running around like, oh no, I have to do the thing. And I haven't played it since 2016 at this point. I got close to the end back in 2004, but you're like running around this country and you're trying to like kill stuff, I guess, and I'm not really good at this, but no, I remember that game being stupidly difficult just because it forces you to hold on to all your cards. And, well, it forces you to need to try to hold on to all your cards while throwing shit at you where you cannot avoid using your cards. And and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck Fromsoft is, but I hope they go out of fucking business.
And now they've made one of the most successful gaming franchises of all time.
Yeah,
if they ever go bankrupt,
also Activision was involved, so I'm like, fuck Activision too.
If they ever do go bankrupt, after filing Chapter 11, they should reform under the name Tosoft.
Damn! Oh God! Oh,
that was bad.
God.
I know.
Really, and not even CC Soft or BCC Soft.
Well, if FromSoft is gonna go out of business, they're gonna have to have like a Blizzard level of allegations or something.
It's funny.
Wildly successful.
It's funny because they've made games published by Activision, but like
Lost Kingdoms.
Lost Kingdoms, Sekiro was one of their Activision games. Sekiro also didn't get DLC, or when it did, it was a long time ago and it was just a game update.
Yeah, Sekiro was weird. Like the combat system was strange. Like you had to just like slam into them until they lose their blocking, and then you can beat them up.
Those are systems that. What's interesting is that Sekiro clearly prototypes some systems that got put into Elden Ring. Like that's what Elden Ring is. It's like, hey, did it work in a prior game in some form? Guess what it's in now? It's in Dark Souls of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean, all the games were really just testing out different systems to see what worked the best. And Sekiro is definitely a big prototype for Elden Ring. And I mean, it's just nice that they had that kind of time and money to finally perfect a game like that.
It is, like, the thing that keeps getting me about Elden Ring, honestly, is that, you go to a place and you get a portion of the map, and it turns like, wow, this map just keeps getting bigger, and I don't know when it stops. Like, they concealed the full size of the map from you, and you start to realize, oh, this isn't like a continent, this is a world.
Yeah, I'll go through a cave, and I'll be like, oh, I found, like, an entirely new area, not a small area either. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
I will steal this quote from Castle Super Beast in regards to Elden Ring. I was prepared for the expansion on the Y-axis and the X-axis. I was not prepared for the expansion on the Z-axis.
Yeah.
There is another thing I do want to comment on, which is Elden Ring was, at least in part, its world lore was conceived by George R.R. Martin. And in most situations where they consulted a guy to slap his name on the cover, Martin and FromSoft has confirmed that Martin contributed some lore and about the story and the world, and that FromSoft designed everything else. And Martin mentioned that occasionally they sent monster designs to him to get his, I don't know if it's his approval or just to show him what it looks like. And there's clearly a tribute to Martin in the form of that aforementioned Game of Thrones giant Berserk sword, which is literally just the Iron Throne if it was the Dragon Slayer. But as I've been playing the game, I'm starting to realize there's a bit more of George in here than I thought there would be.
Well, you know what? I feel like every Souls game, every Souls game story has a lot of ambiguity to it, and it takes a whole lot of searching to figure out what's actually going on. And it's almost, and you know what I've always taken away from it is I would play a Souls game, and then when I was done, I would go read a wiki for someone smarter than me to figure out what the actual story was. And I feel like I'm going to do that with Elden Ring as well.
So there's the thing, is you can do that with Elden Ring, but Elden Ring is also very upfront about some things. The terminology is weird, but then there's characters who spell out to you what the terminology is. And as you go back and look at older conversations, you're like, oh, they were just telling us about the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean that's the thing about Elden Ring. The story, you know, at its very baseline is very basic. You know, the Elden Ring was shattered, trying to get it back, and trying to figure out why. You know?
But then we get to the. So this is weird because there's two phrases of this, which is a Souls game as in a Souls game, because a Souls game has its story and has its story beats and the way it approaches topics and whatnot, which is in part of that ambiguity you mentioned before. And there's parts of it that feels like a Souls game focused through a George R. R. Martin lens, and then occasionally George R. R. Martin focused through a Souls lens, because all the names, like the fact that there's a castle called Stormvale, the fact that all of the demigods have names, that you can plot out a family tree for the royalty of certain areas, that you can break down what the sectarian conflicts in certain regions are. That feels very George.
And if I may
Where
interject,
it gets a little FromSoft is when all this lore is being conveyed to me by a turtle in a Pope hat.
And if I may interject, you can definitely tell it's sometimes, like, you can even see, like, directly when it's like a George story coming out, like, through a FromSoft game. Take the Caelid Wilds, for example. As you know, George Martin is from George R. R. Martin is from New Jersey. That's clearly Camden.
All right.
That's my little golf clap for you, sweetheart. That's my little golf clap.
I'd call Blighttown Camden.
As a real
Caelid Caelid is Blighttown if Blighttown was an entire area. It was an entire region.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Caelid is just, you walk into Caelid and you see the sky is red and you're just like, oh, this place is hyper fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate his honesty, honestly.
All right, so as a quick aside, real fast, since we're talking about Elden Ring, now, Steve, I'm assuming that you've been playing Elden Ring on PC.
Yes.
Dave, I assume you've been playing it on PS5?
Correct.
Lucky bastard.
Thank you, sweetheart.
No problem, honey.
So, real quick, like, is your experience playing Elden Ring on the system you're playing it on positive, negative?
On PC it plays like trash. Like, the micro stutter is horrible. It's really bad.
Even on like a high-end PC?
Yeah. I mean, people that play with systems and video cards that are even better than mine, they report issues. And there's a couple theories behind it, and FromSoft, I don't think they've truly addressed this yet, but people say that it's due to the anti-cheat system that is put in place on the PC that is not there on console. I don't know if that's true or not, but other games that use the same anti-cheat system have similar issues. So that's why they think that that's why.
They got de novoed. I'll say this, FromSoft's PC ports have always kind of been a little bit trash.
Yeah, they're not great at porting. Yeah. They're really not. Like,
it's usually up to the modding community to get it running properly.
I think they fixed a lot of issues with Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 1 played horribly. Like,
and
it
even
was
the
like
remaster
it was like
yeah.
The remaster wasn't great either. Like the first Dark Souls played at like 30 FPS on a PC, which is like why is it like this?
They literally had to make a mod called DS Fix.
Yeah, that fixed a lot of issues. But modders had to do it. But Dark Souls 2, I think, fixed a lot of the issues. There were still some there, mainly in the DLC, I think. And then Dark Souls 3 played fine. I didn't really have any issues.
And then Elden Ring is just shitting on itself.
Yeah, and I don't really know why they decided to put an anti-cheat now and not in the other Souls games, because they all have the same multiplayer system. I mean, maybe the system's different on the back end. I don't know, but you still summon other people that could potentially cheat, and that was very prevalent in the old games anyway. So I guess they're finally getting around to it, but I don't really see the point, in my opinion.
Honestly,
just let cheaters be cheaters.
The issue comes in that occasionally somebody will use the cheating environment to literally just plant malicious software in a person's game designed to delete saves or to kill hard drives, because you do transfer data between players.
I've never seen
there was
that
a whole thing in Dark Souls where your account will be bricked, or your account in your computer could be bricked if this guy invades and dies while invading you.
Do you have a source for this?
I don't remember. It was years ago and I can't remember, but it was one of the things that caused a real panic.
Imagine a blue screen of death that says you died.
Yep.
All right.
But
I almost want to end this podcast early. This is getting too painful.
I will say this about the PlayStation 5 is that it's running very well, but it's not at 60 because it's not locked. Apparently, the best way to run the game is to get a PS4 copy and then play it on PlayStation 5.
Wait, seriously?
That's weird.
That has happened with several games already. It's a weird quirk of the PS5 where, because it's a high-end machine, the games that natively run on it, if they're not optimized, will have problems. And the only way to get the optimization currently is to work closely with Sony, and that because that information isn't widely spread yet, because it was still relatively early into the console's life. This is literally a problem that you can feel that it will be licked by the end of the life cycle of the console. But right now, the most optimal way to play Elden Ring is to buy a PlayStation 4 copy to play on PlayStation 5, which we didn't do.
Why would that even be a problem, though? Because it's a console. It's hey, it has this much RAM. Its clock speed is this. It has this number of cores.
Because FromSoft got ambitious with some of the graphics and some of the shit they wanted to render in real time. And as a result, in some late game areas on PlayStation 5, there will be occasional frame drops. Bloodborne, a game that was developed intimately with Sony and with Japan Studio, has horrible frame drops at certain high intensity points.
Yeah, that game runs like trash, man.
And Bloodborne's frame rate is a locked 30 and still is on PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll say that running it natively on PS5 as I'm doing now, it's running well. I haven't had horrible frame drops yet, but I can feel it's not fully 60.
Well, whatever shortcomings there may be, at least it's not Drakengard 3.
Yeah, no, it's not a slideshow.
Yeah. Well, it almost feels like that on PC sometimes, because here's what happens. You'll be in a cave, right? And then you exit the cave and you come out into the big world. And the game has to load all of that data into the cache memory. And then you can start, playing normally. But I feel that the data doesn't get onto your cache fast enough. So you'll come out and you'll just freeze for a split second, or you'll massively slow your frame rate. And then it'll quickly catch up to wherever you should have been had the game run normally.
Oof.
And that's what happens. And if you're not careful, there are some enemies that will just show up, they'll really creep up on you, and the game hasn't had enough time to catch up with, caching all that data. And then the frame rate drops, and then you get smacked in the face by that enemy.
Yeah,
and it's really frustrating at times. And
that's
it's even
Elden
worse
Ring
when you ride
mode.
the horse. It's really frustrating when you ride the horse, because the horse runs so much faster that the game can't keep up. So you'll be running across the field and get to a new area, and then the game has to load all of its resources in, and then it starts to slow down again, and then again, and then again, and it's not a smooth experience at times.
That sounds it sounds more like a level design problem than anything else, because a properly designed level would have, an area where it'll load that gives it a chance to load chunks in the background before you can actually see all of it.
Well, I think a lot of the issue with FromSoft is they made a game so big and so unique in its biomes that the data can't like deduplicate itself to the point where, you know, it's using resources that are already in the cache memory. It has to dump that and then put new data in for this new biome that you've encountered. So I think a lot of the resources are just not used all the time. You know what I mean? Like textures that are simple.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it didn't like load the actors properly or like anything.
Yeah, and I'm just speculating. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a game developer by any means. But you know,
You're
just
not?
based off no. But just based off my knowledge,
you lied to get on the podcast, and that's why we have you here.
Well, I mean, I work in IT, so I do know computers to a fairly high degree, but I'm not a game developer. I don't know how you load textures in the memory and stuff like that. I don't know how.
Literal answer to my joke.
As someone who is admitted Souls trash, I will say that there is an understanding among the fans of these games that when you go to play a FromSoft game, especially a Souls series game, you are to expect a certain amount of jank and glitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I spawned in, I saw a tree that just loaded, and I'm like, oh, that's fucking weird. And then I just went about my business, but it was nothing compared to what Steve's dealing with.
Oh, yeah, no, Elden Ring on PC is just a nightmare.
I don't think that's acceptable, though, especially for new fans of the series that are getting in on it now. Elden Ring is a perfect entry into the series. I mean, you basically have the full package. You don't need to beta test the old games to get to the perfect product. You're already there. So to go in and get this kind of performance and people are like, well, that's just the way it is. How is that acceptable as a consumer?
Oh, it's,
you know what I mean?
the PC thing that you're describing goes beyond any jank that I could have referenced. The jank is what makes it tolerable for me on PS5. What you're describing is a non-functional product. And FromSoft, the problem with FromSoft is that being a Japanese developer, they look at the PC and they go, well, that's a thing. Anyway, our console fan base.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm going to bring up later.
PC is definitely getting more popular in Japan, but you're right. I mean, they see PC not as an afterthought, but definitely a lower priority, you know? And I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I'm just waiting for modders to fix it, I guess. But then I won't be able to play online anymore because mods, you know, they don't work well with the online. You have to play the game offline. And there's no easy way to do that either. You have to literally go into the settings and mess with things in order to forcefully disable playing online. There's no button in the game that says, I don't want to play online anymore. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know why they decided to do that. I don't know.
No,
I don't know. See, that sounds like a personal problem to me.
A personal problem?
Yes.
It's not, though. It's a PC game problem.
It's a personal problem, and you're trying to inflict it on everyone else when you should be dealing with it yourself like an adult.
Okay, sorry, I'll just be Tino and make my own game. Sure, let's go do that.
Well, one other thing that I was going to say is that another possibility is that it might have been like an LOD optimization problem. So just to... for anybody who doesn't know what an LOD is, basically if you're trying to have like an entire cityscape, like let's think for example Grand Theft Auto 5, you're talking about pop-in. Yeah, pop-in basically. You can see all of the city. Well, you can't load the entire city in all that detail because it would take up too much memory. So in game design, what they do is they create less detailed versions of objects, and they're less detailed and less detailed and less detailed further away you get. I think what may have happened is that because they developed this game for PS5, they had the LODs for these large biomes and all the objects in them optimized for what the PS5 could load within a certain number of milliseconds or whatever. And then trying to port that optimization over to PC may not have worked so well if your PC doesn't match the same specs as the PS5.
Yeah, that's
where this is a problem, because they didn't develop this for the PS5. They developed this, and development started on this back in the prior generation, meaning it was developed for PS4 and Xbox One.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that
that's even worse then.
What I'm saying is that it's still optimized for a certain a certain set of hardware. That makes it easier to test. It's harder to port stuff to PCs because everybody has a slightly different setup unless they bought a pre-built computer.
That is true.
I agree. I still find it kind of frustrating though that, people with higher specs, they spend all this money on video cards, especially now, only to get such a mediocre performance. It's very frustrating.
Oh, it's infuriating, and the one thing I'll say about FromSoft is that they do know when they have to patch shit. And I assure you there's somebody at Namco Bandai who's yelling at the FromSoft team, hey, get this shit working on PC.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, we're going to get embarrassed by fans. And we can only hope that FromSoft does not pull a Capcom.
Yeah, and that's partially why I haven't been playing so much recently, just because it's like, I just get really frustrated, and I'm like, all right, fuck this game. I'm just going to turn it off. And then I go and play Final Fantasy XIV instead, which runs flawlessly on PC. Absolutely beautiful on PC.
FF14 baffles me because it's a game that was made in the PS3 generation that has racked up a hell of a technical debt, and somehow, through the efforts of Yoshida's insanity, there have been two teams. There's a team developing new content, and there's a team that's already at the end of the train, and they are literally just like fixing the train as it rolls forward, and it's just nuts. Like, they just announced graphical updates for patch 6.1, right? They're going to start rolling them out.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared because I
don't think they're releasing DirectX 12 support yet, though.
Yeah, no, because the game's still running on Crystal tools.
That's
I was
called
gonna
the
say,
power
I'm a
of
little
giving a crap.
I'm a little bit worried because I can actually currently run FF14 pretty well on a Lenovo ThinkPad.
Yeah, well, you can still play on like older hardware. Like, you don't need to run on DirectX 11. I think 10 is still available if you want to.
The only thing you can't run it on anymore is a PS3.
Right.
And they've been forthright about this. You can currently run it on a PS4 and a PS5, but they have stated that eventually, hey, heads up, like 5 years, 6 years from now, we are going to have to drop PS4 support.
Uh-oh.
The technical debt will not allow us to stay there.
Yeah, I say good because you could buy PS4 for like $20. Like, it's super cheap. You don't
you can't.
And
I'm using hyperbole. But I'm saying that it's not that expensive anymore.
Wait, is the meme still applicable, Steve? Are free trials back again or not?
Oh, definitely. You can play all of Heavensward now, baby.
Oh shit, I'm on DirectX 12.
Up to level 60 with the Heavensward expansion pack.
With the award-winning Heavensward expansion pack.
No time limit.
So good news, I'm on DirectX 12 somehow, so hey.
So enjoy FF14.
Well, if you have a video card that supports DirectX 12, then that's great.
The other thing that got to me about the recent FF14 thing is like, hey, so listen, we know that you all have been hearing about this batshit story and that it's an amazing story and whatnot, and we're proud of it. We are. In fact, we're so proud of it that we're listening to some of you more insane fuckers out there. And we're going to make a way for you to play this game where you will not have to talk to another living being ever.
Wait, what do you mean?
Did you not see the announcement of they're going to overhaul the trust system and put it in all of the prior expansions?
Oh, I didn't know that.
With like generic NPCs who can fill in the other roles.
Oh, that's fucking fantastic.
So that you don't ever have to play the MSQ with other people.
I hate people so much. Like, I really do. Like, I you know what? They first introduced that on Final Fantasy XI so many years ago, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. I don't have to talk to anybody.
I'm literally waiting for them to be like, okay, so we did a clean break for the arc at this point. We would now like to introduce to you the Final Fantasy XIV Journey game, which is just a standalone first-player release that has no other people, and it's just a first player version of a single player version of FF14's MSQ with barely any of the side quests or the raids or anything. And it's just like, here, experience the story in an offline environment, enjoy the game. And when you're caught up, you can import your character to the MMO with a full subscription.
Okay,
and
so
that actually brings
non-MMO player here. What's an MSQ?
And the MSQ is actually unique to, well, I think other games have this, but that's what they call it in FF14. It is the quest that provides the main storyline of the game.
Okay.
In World of Warcraft, one of the things they emphasize with the story in the game is that if you were to pull up the camera in World of Warcraft, you would see a Warcraft 3 map, and your player character, even though you are a Godslayer at this point, is just a unit running around, to the point where important NPCs will regard you the way they would a grunt soldier, even if you are wearing proof on your body that you have slain gods. Final Fantasy XIV.
Wait, hold on. Vicky was trying to say something, but you cut her off.
Sorry, Vicky.
Thanks. It's cool. So that actually, like, we can definitely just dive right back into this, but everything we've discussed so far is related directly to sort of the topic that I kind of sort of chose this week. Gaming and COVID. How esports have been impacted, how online gaming's been impacted by COVID. So, yeah, no, that's, I guess that's the topic.
well, video game development in general has been affected very heavily. But however, I think it's this going back to Final Fantasy XIV. They made an entire expansion at home, which I think is super impressive.
They made an entire expansion at home.
Well, Pixar made Soul at home. Like, people have been making movies at home too. So.
Yeah, but I feel like it's different for Japan because they really hate work from home. They want you to come to the office and sit there, even if you're not being very productive. As long as you sit there and look like you're working and you leave after your manager leaves, they are happy. And it's been like that for a long time. And it took COVID to finally have them realize that people can actually work from home and be productive. And probably be even more productive than if they were in the office, because they don't need to have their boss breathing down their neck. They just do their job, and when they go home, they're already home. They don't have to they don't have to take a 2-hour train ride home out of Tokyo to, in the suburbs, like they're already home. It's great.
It's one thing to drag everyone into the office to crunch. It's another thing to remove the wasted hours they'd spend on transit to just have them crunch at home. They can't complain if you're crunching them at home.
Yep.
And it's really funny. Endwalker is probably the best expansion yet. And they didn't even need an office to do it. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't that say something about the work ethic of Japan when they don't need to go to the office? They're much more productive,
I'm not allowed to get into details due to NDAs and the fact that this does kind of relate to something from my job. But I think that RTO, which is a big thing that a lot of companies are pushing for, return to office, is a mistake.
I think it is too. I mean, clearly it is. People hate sitting in traffic.
I've heard stories of companies that have gone on hiring sprees across the country because they don't need a centralized office anymore. They can just host everything online.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I feel that it's... What do you need an office for if you literally just work on a computer? I understand that there's logistics. If you sell a physical product, sure. But if you're a video game company, what the hell do you need an office for? Yeah. Host your shit on a computer.
Gotta justify that space you're renting.
Well, just sell it then.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we bought a building, guys. We have to use it.
We bought a building. You fuckers better load up in it.
No, guys,
Why did you buy a building?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, hon.
Why did we fucking buy this building if we ain't gonna drag your ass to it? And
sorry.
It's like frustrating. Sorry to interrupt. I just gotta get this out. I apologize, Vicky. But like, my company has grown so much that our current office can't host all our employees, and we work with a hoteling arrangement for the few times they do need to gather in person. And like, there's no point to it. There's no point to having an office anymore. I work with people every day. Who are across the country. We're in states halfway across the country. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say the reason they want us to come back to the offices is because whatever fucking programs we use don't have rollback net code, so we can't like have the bosses get on our asses. So
that is speaking
yes.
of this in the gaming space, a weird positive of the pandemic. And there are documentaries I can link you to that cover this, but fighting games have had a reckoning.
Yeah, rollback net code is great. I mean, there's downsides to rollback net code too, but I think that
they're not the same as delay based. They're not the same as delay based downsides.
No, there's more downsides to the delay based online system for sure.
The one that got to me is when Guilty Gear Strive released, and there were Japanese players talking astounded because they had never seen this before. That they were having smooth matches with people in America and with people in Brazil and with people in Australia, and it was like, how is this even possible?
Hey, David, before we proceed, do you care to tell our American and Canadian all two watchers what exactly rollback netcode is?
I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it because it's a bit nuts. But basically, rollback netcode, or GGPO as it is known, has been available for more than a decade. And it's basically a system by which, because there's only so many actions that a fighting game character can do, the system creates basically a prediction system of what move is coming out next from the fighter. And because certain moves feed into other moves and certain moves are only possible from certain other positions, it's kind of easy to run basically a little quantum prediction. And the idea is that as the players tap their buttons and send their information out, the games tries to predict what moves are coming, and it corrects itself in like a split second to the correct move as needed.
Yeah, if it's wrong, it'll correct it to the correct one.
So this is something that happens on like the millisecond by millisecond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's imperceptible to the user.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's implemented correctly, it is imperceptible.
It does kind of fail at certain latencies for sure, but essentially it does happen very, very quickly.
It is better than Super Smash Brothers Brawls Online.
Yeah, well, Brawl is a trash game, so.
Yes. Yes, it is. But yeah,
now, hold on.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
I'm gonna push back on this one.
No, don't push back. That game is trash.
What? This is the hill you want to die on, Will?
That game is that game is so floaty. I can't believe
in 2011, I posted a Facebook status about how Kingdom Hearts was a good series. I will die on hills that I should not die on. I think we all know this by now.
How many respawns are you on? Well, how many hills have you died on?
But where this gets interesting and in more of the feasible ways we can discuss is that rollback netcode has long been used by Western fighting game developers. It is effective considering that internet in America is non-consistent. Different ISPs have different speeds in different regions, and the way to get you the maximum online viable community is to implement rollback. So a lot of indie fighting game developers used it, and a lot of Western developers used it. You know who didn't fucking use rollback until recently?
Japan.
Yep. Capcom and SNK and ArcSys and a whole host. And when their lower level developers, people who do play fighting games, who hear these rumbles, try to bring it to the higher ups, they literally ran into an interesting cultural barrier where it's just like, that's not the way we do things. Even though GGPO is a free program given away by its developers in the hopes of improving the fighting game ecosystem, they were like, nah, we'll do it our way.
That's so very Nintendo of them.
But COVID kind of forced them to confront that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, they tried to not. They tried to not.
Is this
until until they couldn't run in.
Is this because Japan and like East Asia in general has much more consistent internet speeds than America does?
Bingo. Why do we need to put in the effort? Because there is one.
I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. Like rural Japan also has pretty wide variety of speeds. It depends on what you're willing
to pay Steve,
for.
Not me.
Some poor guy in Hokkaido is trying to play Street Fighter. He's like, why? Yeah. I mean, but Dave is mostly right. The internet speeds are pretty good.
There is one other cultural part. It's not really the internet speeds, though. Japan still has a vibrant arcade scene.
No, they don't. Not anymore.
Well, you're right. They had a vibrant arcade scene. And so they didn't need to worry about... They used to not have to worry about online because the main place people played was in person together at arcades.
Yeah, but arcades were dying long before COVID. They've been closing them pretty consistently. I mean, there's just no reason to go anymore because online is getting so prevalent. I mean, they're catching on.
But for the longest time though, that was the mentality, and they were resistant. And COVID was in that case the straw that broke the camel's back. And the first real major Japanese release to do this, I think, was Street Fighter V, but they implemented their rollback poorly, and that was before the pandemic. They fucked it up.
Yeah, I remember it was really bad.
Yeah. A fan fixed it, and they were so angry that a fan fixed it they updated the game to lock out that mod, and they put their own fix, which is only half as good as the fan fix.
Salty.
Yeah, I mean, that's
salty.
That's classic fragile masculinity Japan.
Well, this is like the fifth or sixth time I think we've talked about a video game doing something like this. Somebody does something better than they did, and then they get a cease and desist letter.
Yeah, because they're a bunch of babies.
But let's be honest for a minute. This isn't just like a video game culture thing. Like, I don't know if you guys saw online. There was like that city where literally, like, the stairs that led from like a public park path up to like kind of like this level court area where you could just kind of sit down and like maybe play basketball. Like, those stairs had completely been like destroyed by something. And the city had gotten requests for over a year to replace the stairs, and they just didn't do it. Finally, some dude just came in, and he was like a carpenter. Like, he was he was like a craftsman. He wasn't like just some schlub off the street. He built new stairs using high quality materials that could withstand weather and damage and everything. And the city came in and tore his stairs up and did not put in a replacement set of stairs.
Well, yeah, because he made them look bad.
Yeah.
He made them look bad, and so you can't have that.
Yeah, it's not just a video game culture thing. I think that's just a thing in general that you have. Like, if someone's if you're trying to do something and someone shows you up and does it better, it's never, a good look for you. So of course you're going to be like, oh, I gotta look better than them, even though you're just going to look worse if you try to get them.
Gotta love
that. We're talking about in the context of video games, though.
Right. But I'm just saying it's a universal thing. And Vicky.
Hi, thanks. That reminds me, there's an alternate way to handle this. Instead of fixing it, you can make it so much worse. This one dude was drawing big dick pictures around these potholes because the city was refusing to fix it. So he just drew dicks around it so that they were forced to tar it.
Yeah.
Hey, modern problems require modern solutions. To that end,
Vicky, I thought you were gonna say for a minute the guy who was trying to get the graffiti painted over at his local rec center, so he just did worse graffiti on top of the graffiti, so the city had to slowly he would literally if there was graffiti with a gang tag, he would put profanity and dicks, he would draw dicks on there. But the city would only paint over that section, so by section he would just paint random stuff over it. I thought you were gonna say that.
That's beautiful, but
it's a public service announcement. If you want graffiti removed from your local park, just put swastikas on it.
Ooh.
No, we can't advocate for that. No.
You know what?
All right, bye guys. I'm out of here. I'm not being part of this.
I'm Jewish. Stick with the dicks, people. Anyway.
Let's get back on topic. So I want to go back to the whole esports thing.
I do want to just say one last coda. the next game that tried it during the pandemic was Guilty Gear Strive, which we've discussed at length. But Steve, go ahead.
So I heard very recently from some friends. I don't follow esports all that much. I do follow CS:GO sometimes. Like I'll fall out for a while and then I'll pick it back up and be like, all right, who went to what team now? Because they trade like teams all the time. So, what?
No,
are you right, Tino?
I'm just trying to poke Will's eye.
Oh, nice.
Because he's being weird again.
No, I'm not sure if I should come back yet. Tino said something that scared me.
so on the topic of esports, I heard recently that I don't know if this was League of Legends or what, but there was like an in-person tournament in South Korea, and it was there were some teams in other countries that were supposed to fly in and play, but because of COVID restrictions, they couldn't play, and the organization had to have a meeting, and they determined that because the other guys can't play, they have to forfeit themselves from the tournament. So South Korea won by default. So now I was just sitting there, I'm like, okay, dude, this is like Obama awarding Obama. Like, what the hell is this? Like, you can't come and play, guess I'm the winner. It's like, man,
hold on,
that's rough,
no, Steve,
man.
That's a legitimate strategy, because I remember one day when I was a kid, I called up like a bunch of my friends, like Evan and Ray and all, and I said like, hey, let's play Super Smash Bros. And find out which one of us is like best at it. And then when they got to my house, I locked the front door and I just played Super Smash Bros. I'm like, you guys couldn't beat me. I guess I'm the champ.
That actually...
Wait, Steve, what game was this?
I think this was League of Legends, but I'm not entirely sure.
League of Legends is an online game. Why did they have to physically be there?
Because
good
it was
fucking
supposed to be...
Tino.
It was, I believe it was supposed to be an in-person tournament, and there were sponsors involved. And I think that might have been why. But I'm not entirely sure. I didn't look too much into it. You can put sponsors on
an internet stream. People do that all the time.
Well, I know that, but there could have been contracts for, local resources. There could have been a variety of things. Like I said, I didn't really look too much into it. I just overheard it from some friends who were talking about it in another Discord I'm a part in.
Look, when Raid Shadow Legends puts up the money for your tournament, you do what they say. If they say jump, you say how high and at what latency.
If you want to call it,
damn.
So to roll this actually to roll in our fighting game discussion, this became a quick problem with fighting games because a lot of tournaments are in person.
You mean Evo?
Yes, Evo. Yeah. Well, Evo had a whole bunch of other problems in 2020 that that's a separate podcast.
That's a different thing.
Different thing.
Well, what happened in 2020?
Well, there was a whole lot of
Evo went to the bad place.
Evo went to the bad place, and now it's back from the dead, and all the bad people are over there now.
Did Evo survive the eclipse?
It survived the eclipse without its arm or its eye.
Yeah, now they can't play Smash Brothers anymore because Nintendo said no.
I don't blame Nintendo for that, actually, considering what happened in the Smash community.
No one was watching Evo to see who could be their best Princess Peach. I'm sorry, like let's be real for a minute.
Yeah, they were. What are you talking about? Smash Brothers Melee is like one of the biggest games at Evo.
No,
yes, it was.
Yes, it is. No one shows up for Street Fighter V anymore because nobody likes that game anymore. That's why they had to announce Street Fighter VI so people can forget about Street Fighter V. That's the reason.
No, Street Fighter V is making a comeback, Steve.
Let's all play Guile because he's the most broken character in the game.
Well, that's because he's from America and he's got the best hair.
Well, I agree with you, but I'm saying that no one cares about Street Fighter V anymore.
Mike Hager.
So, another stupid question. What's Evo?
Evo is the biggest fighting game tournament in North America. It goes down in Las Vegas in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, in Sin City, baby! With a bunch of nerds who don't shower.
Avoiding the big controversy, because like I said, that's a podcast for another time, but basically a bunch of the Evo's founders got outed for being sexual predators. Same thing happened in the Smash community to a bunch of players, which is why Nintendo
how shocking.
I'm so very surprised.
Yes,
we're just going to need a list of people who aren't sexual predators, because at this point, I think that's going to be a shorter list.
Welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they kicked out all the bad people at MagFest now, so that's cool.
Wait, they're what?
They kicked out the guys who did the shit from Evo's board, and Sony bought them, and now they're back. But the thing is, because of the pandemic, one of the things Evo was putting together before the shit happened was an online Evo. And when they revealed the big tournaments, everyone was like, "Hey, why the fuck is them fighting herds and Skullgirls and all these games on there and not like Street Fighter or Guilty Gear or any of that?" And the answer was, because those games online is trash. And all the other games have Rollback Net Code. And that was part of why the reckoning occurred.
Yeah. I mean, everyone needs Rollback Net Code now. That's really the only way that this is going to happen in the future. It doesn't even matter if they start going back to in-person events. In the event that they can't do it in person, they're definitely going to switch to online, and they're going to need that Rollback Net Code. It's just also, like a second option.
Also, to kind of circle back to Vicky's topic, I think the way that the pandemic has changed esports in general is that from now on, participants will be forced to shower if they attend in person. So people in the stands won't necessarily vomit if they're in the stands from the smell.
That is also fair.
Wait, what's your logic behind that?
Apparently COVID spreads by body odor? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the Black Plague.
I don't think anybody cares about that anymore.
Steve,
they were like, oh, well, it doesn't really stay on surfaces too long. So
okay,
there's
Steve,
no incentive to shower anymore.
He's making a body odor joke.
I know he is.
Yeah, he's going to give literal answers to my joke for the second time this podcast.
I'm going to ruin all your jokes because they're not very good.
You know
I
what?
would like to point
I'm
out,
on Steve's side. Fuck Will.
Steve's going to ruin the jokes because Steve, baby, has to have it sponsored by Dove Deodorant.
Listen, I'm an adult and I deserve an adult glass.
Nah, Steve, that chocolate milk is going bad.
Nah, I don't...
It's spreadable and it's edible.
It's spreadable and it's edible. Me one, no. Me one, yes. Later.
Don't leave the house. Do not leave the house.
I would like to point out that esports were, according to a couple of articles I read, esports were like increased in popularity because of COVID, due to the fact that people couldn't tune into normal sports for obvious fucking reasons. So, yeah, Rollback Net Code is kind of becoming, if not already, well, no, it is definitely a fucking necessity. So, like, go esports, go nerd shit.
It was probably a weird realization that sports nerds were showing up to watch esports and are like, wow, this is just like real sports. And like, it's been like that for a long time.
Yeah,
that's why we call this esports.
Well,
Evo is NFL for dorks.
That's kind of something interesting in a way. Is so Vicky, you touched on something kind of nifty in a sense. When the pandemic first hit like 2 years ago already, I remember in a lot of, like,
we're entering our third year.
Right. So, yeah. Jesus. That's what a fun sentence to say. But I remember when the pandemic was first starting, so as a resident of the city of Philadelphia, obviously I am a fan of Philadelphia Eagles, and I am in several Eagles fan groups on Facebook.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. What's your team in New Jersey, Steve?
I don't have a team because real sports are for sissies.
You're the sissy.
No, my point is that Philly fans are Philadelphia sports teams fans are
insane.
You know.
That's what makes them so much fun.
Yeah, but they do light cars on fire and stuff.
Hatred of your sports teams.
I mean, look, we used to have.
At least we don't have to piggyback off of New York.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I know.
Also,
I'm a Jets fan. There's nothing you can do to me that hurts less.
I'm a Jersey Devils fan.
I think if I'm remembering this correctly,
pain.
The old Eagles Stadium actually had a courthouse in it that would be open on Sundays to resolve like all the rowdiness that would go on. So that should tell you everything you need to know about Eagles fans. But
that is the favorite sentence I have ever heard.
Philly.
back onto something to get back to Vicky's point. So when COVID hit and like we had no idea, like we were in the fan group talking about like, well, what's happening with the NFL this year, what's going on. And like, obviously they still had things like the NFL draft because you could do that remotely. But, you know, there was a lot of question about like, well, what are we going to do about like the games and everything? And actually all these people who were just in there to talk about football, all of a sudden, you know, because people were buying like video game consoles and stuff during the pandemic, suddenly now, hey, we're setting up a Madden league. We're going to stream on Twitch.
Oh,
we're going to
no.
have a league. And we had 32 members of this one Eagles group literally start a Twitch channel where each member was assigned a team, the unlucky member of that 32 having to play the Dallas Cowboys. But what happened was every week, you know, they would have games throughout the weekend, and not all in like one day, but they'd spread them out throughout the week. So it's like, okay, Monday rolls around, it's a new week, so all 7 days you're gonna have like games spread throughout. So like, all right, you had people making up the brackets and all that other stuff, and it actually worked out pretty well. And from there, some people in that Eagles fan group actually started to like, hey, this was fun. Is there more of this kind of stuff? Like, can I see this with other sports games or even games that aren't sports? Like, can I find this for Call of Duty or things like that? So the pandemic.
Oh,
like
you
guys
sweet summer child.
Yeah, it's like
We've been doing this for a while now.
Did you not realize that you were watching this stuff on Twitch? All you have to do is hit the browse option and you'll be like everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's what I think one of the biggest changes of the pandemic is that esports got a massive boost where, you know, professional sports were getting shut down and you couldn't have anything. I remember they tried having basketball games initially where, you know, the NBA tried having, all right, no fans in the stands, but, you know, because it was still very new and people had no idea what was going on with the pandemic, they shut that down pretty quickly. Like the end of the season after like, I think another week or two.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, because you didn't need that in-person stuff for games online, esports got a massive boost. I think Let's Play channels got a big boost to stuff.
Sure.
It was, you know, I think the biggest change with esports and anything else involving playing video games online was just the fact that for a while that became like I'm not going to say pinnacle, but it became a major source of entertainment. And now that things are starting, you know, to go back to normal, at least as far as COVID's concerned, now that things COVID-wise are going back to normal,
yeah, big qualifier there.
Yeah, I had to make sure I threw that in there. But when that started happening, people aren't just forgetting like, oh yeah, what's Twitch? I don't know what that is. It's like, yeah, you know, there's guys in my Eagles group that every Sunday during the season they'll watch the Eagles. When that's done, it's like, hey, are we gonna get like the Twitch channel going so that guys can play Madden again, or are we gonna, you know, like what are we gonna watch? Are we gonna watch Call of Duty? Or are we gonna watch Overwatch? What are we gonna do? So there's like a branching out that's been going on, and it's nice to see.
It is.
Yeah, no, sorry.
There's a friend of mine there are a number of friends of mine, I'm actually friends with everyone there, who have a band called The Schwam. And they had booked some shows for the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And then when the Omicron wave hit, all their shows got canceled. And they decided that rather than just take the loss again, they were going to go all in on their Twitch channel. And so they've been playing video games, they've been having virtual concerts, and they've found some real success.
Yeah, no,
like,
and
sorry, you were saying?
No, you continue. I thought that was a break, but it wasn't. Go ahead.
No, it was a break. I actually didn't have anything.
Oh, okay, cool. Playing off of what Will said though, like, yeah, no, and that's actually a good point too. Like, musicians can keep doing what they love and still like have things coming in part because they were forced to adapt. And same thing with the video games and the Madden and the Twitch stuff. Like, it also kind of forced, I don't want to use the term normies because that seems a little offensive, but it kind of forced non-electronics enjoyers
Normies.
Normies, non-gamers,
Yeah,
people who
normies.
don't play video
Yeah.
games.
Okay, fine, normies. Yeah, it kind of forced the normies to confront a different form of media, consume it, internalize it, and then destigmatize it. Now
Yeah,
they can
that's
relate to
fine.
other people in a different way.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm not gonna like gatekeep my hobby. You know, that's
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm not like
Come in,
that.
be cool.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
be cool.
Yeah, as long as you're cool about it. I mean,
I want to put
Fine.
a pin in the gatekeeping thing because I want to circle back to a funny story later on. But
okay. Well, I wanted to bring something up about esports because, you guys know. Do you guys know the Overwatch League?
yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the,
I don't discuss dead things from the dead company.
Interesting. So for the people who don't know, I'm assuming Tino's silence is. I'm assuming he doesn't know.
So I know what Overwatch is. I assume the Overwatch League had something to do with it.
Yeah, so it was an esports league. However, the difference was it was actually in person, and people could actually go to the events. Like you could buy tickets and go and watch in person, and that was gaining a lot of traction pre-pandemic in the Overwatch League, and they were actually building an esports arena down where the other stadiums are in Philadelphia, and I think they stopped that construction now because of the waning interest in Overwatch for some obvious reasons, some not so obvious reasons. The pandemic, I think, absolutely killed it. I mean, there was already like waning interest just because of Blizzard's and Activision Blizzard's questionable things that they've been going on with, and just I think overall lack of interest of Overwatch in general.
Well,
It's
Overwatch
just
was
been
also
stagnating.
Overwatch was a 4-year-old game by the time the pandemic happened. So
Yes, yes, it
Exactly.
was. But I mean, at the same time, they were still providing updates to the game and adding new characters. So it's not like they weren't working on the game since then. It's just that I feel that people moved on to other things. Like Valorant, I think, was out at the time, which is like Overwatch meets Counter-Strike, if you don't know what Valorant is. So there were just other options for people to watch. And then the pandemic hit, and they just moved on to other things. And, they could go to the in-person matches, of course. So the Overwatch League had actual teams in different cities. So, like, I think Philly had one. I think Texas had one. And it kind of was framed like an actual regular sports team. Like, they would have a home base in a certain state or city or whatever. So
what were people did each city have its own team and they'd compete against a team from a different city, or?
Yeah, okay. I mean, it was framed just like a regular sport.
Okay.
They would just have their own home base, and they would have their own place to play in their city, I assume. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention too much about it, but I did look into it a little bit when the pandemic happened, because I'm like, hey, what happened to Overwatch League? And then I saw that it was really declining, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Homeland
That is
advantage.
admittedly one thing missing from esports is like teams. One of the things that a lot of major sports leagues have are teams centered around the city they're hosted in. Like,
Yeah,
it
and
becomes part of the city's identity, and we don't really have that in esports yet.
There's a point of pride when the team from your city or from your area that you like, you root for them. And for esports, it's very ambiguous because there's no centralized location for an esports team. They just exist, and they have people from all over the world to play for them. Like, there's people from Korea, there's people from Japan, people from, Europe. It doesn't matter. There's no centralized location. So it's hard. It's more ambiguous as who you find attractive as a team to, attach yourself to and root for, Like, when I was trying to figure out what team I liked in CSGO, it was hard because I didn't know if I liked the player or if I liked the gameplay that comes from them. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different thing, I feel, in esports. So, anyway.
I mean,
So did the New
thanks for coming to
Jersey?
my TED Talk.
So did the New Jersey esports team just immediately dissolve and go to New York, and then you guys supported them, or
kind of? They tried switching from Overwatch to Battleborn for a while, and then that game got shut down as it.
I think
the hero shooter was a fad that people didn't want to admit was a fad.
I think the Philly Overwatch team had a mascot that was a sexual predator.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Again, sure.
Introducing the Philadelphia Spawn Campers.
Yeah.
I feel like
that has
a lot of this
implications.
stuff. Why is it that in a lot of the video game industry, you could go to a conference where a lot of the people who are employed in this industry are, and throw 10 darts at random, and at least 9 of them will hit a sexual predator?
Well, Activision Blizzard was the largest scale employer in the video game industry in America.
I think it has that incel mentality. Just being honest.
I think as time
you can talk
passes,
about how World of Warcraft went on a decline and it isn't as good as it used to be, and how people go online to World of Warcraft and brag about
that
having
predates
girlfriends.
So the thing is, we didn't know that predated the sexual predation until the lawsuit. It's just been declining for 10 years.
I think Steve picked up on the little hidden reference I snuck in there.
I did.
All right, so I kind of want to touch on Vicky's point again. I kind of want to hit on something Dave said about concerts and your friends who were planning something at the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022. So I feel like this is like a double-edged sword in a way, because I feel like unless you're gonna have everyone tune in, maybe it could work to have a concert online where hey, if I so for example, let's say I'm in a band, right, and I'm gonna play in Philly, I could rent sell out a stadium which is 50,000 seats or whatever, and maybe make a ton of money that night, and then go to different stadiums throughout America and sell them out and make a lot of money that way. But maybe instead of 50,000 per ticket at those stadiums, I could get millions of people to tune in on stream to watch my concert. But then again, how many people are going to want to pay to watch the stream online at that time when they could just look up videos on YouTube the next day from people who
counter argument?
Well, I have a thought about this, but Dave, you can go ahead first.
So the main reason they went to Twitch is because those were paid gigs that got canceled on them. It was a bar where they were the live music in residency, and they lost that gig because of the pandemic. Because the bar wanted to say it, because the bar didn't want to have to deal with the concert traffic during the pandemic and trying to maintain regulations and stuff. The thing that allows them to do on Twitch is that when their fans tune in, and this is how most online content operators operate, they say up front, hey, do you like what we do? Do you want to see more of it? Here's our tip jar, which is this link. Here's our Patreon, which is this link. Here's how you can make us say shout outs online and just throw money at us and we will make more stuff. And that's how those concerts online worked. It's not the 50,000 people filling a stadium. It is 50,000 people each sending in their own money. And then one dude drops 10K because he's a psycho.
And then he gets e-clout, which is actually really cool as shit for some people. So that incentivizes him. I said that's what I said for some people. E-clout.
Oh, e-clout. I thought you said e-clout, and I was like, that does not sound very tasty.
The cabbage is, you can't download the cabbage. It's on the cloud, sorry.
The cabbage sells its own NFTs.
The cabbage NFT.
Oh,
don't say it! It exists now!
It's just gonna be the cabbage dude from Avatar, and he's just an NFT, and he's in the form of a monkey now.
My sauerkraut!
So the other...
My apes! Anyway.
I have a point about this concert thing. So way back when the pandemic started and the whole world was shutting down, K-pop actually, mobilized on this pretty quickly. And what happened was, they found they could actually make money by doing online concerts and charging money to have exclusive access to watching the concert, and it would be online. Like they would have a full production, be in like an actual
God, they rediscovered
venue.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So they would say, hey, we're having an online concert on this day and this day. You can pay $50 to watch and stream it, or you could pay $80 to watch it and be able to get some merchandise, and they'll ship it to you. Or you can pay $100 and get even more merchandise, like more exclusive merchandise.
Nice.
So they were already monetizing the pandemic. That sounds terrible to say, but they were. I mean, that's what they were doing. They needed to make money. They needed to make money somehow because K-pop in general relies
It's very
a lot
opportunist, I
on.
know.
Yeah, I mean, they rely a lot on like in-person interactions. It's not just releasing an album and then promoting it on TV, and then they go back in the studio and make something else. They have to interact with the fans. That's really their bread and butter.
You got to get
It's
that
Japanese
parasocial
idol. It's
relationship.
idol setter shit.
Yeah, I mean, it is like Japanese idol stuff. They take a lot of notes from that. It is different in in tone when it comes to in-person interactions, but it's a similar vibe, I would say. So
Vicky was saying something. Sorry.
I was just saying, it's just parasocial relationships.
Yeah, it
You're
is.
monetizing on that.
I mean, that's all K-pop really is. It's all parasocial relationships. I mean, everyone identifies and thinks that they're best friends with whoever idol they like, and it gets really weird on Twitter. And yeah. So anyway,
can you have a parasocial relationship with your fellow podcast people, or?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I would hope so. That's the only way I'm ever gonna have friends.
But we actually meet each other face to face.
Oh, you met between us. No,
yeah,
no,
it was a joke. It was a joke. I was making a fucked up joke.
I picked up on that right away.
Friends, Vicky.
Do I have a parasocial relationship with my girlfriend?
No.
So anyway, I just thought it was interesting that
who is in the other room.
I just thought it was interesting that industry really capitalized on it very, very quickly. And it sucks because there were two groups that I wanted to see. One was actually in North Jersey, sadly, and it was right when they were getting a lot of cases in North Jersey, and I was like, I'm not risking that. And one of the staff members at the show got COVID anyway, so there you go.
Yeah,
so I dodged the bullet there.
So in defense of K-pop, if you didn't capitalize on the pandemic, you went out of business.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's certainly true.
Yeah,
but
they
that
definitely
didn't stop the industry at all. They still kept cranking out those albums and showing up to music shows and performing.
I meant business in general. If you couldn't make money during the pandemic, if you didn't find a way, you went out of business. So I was basically ordering out from my local pizza shop every meal because I was like, I love you guys and I want you to keep existing. Yeah,
I get it, but I feel that they started charging a lot of money for things. It got really expensive. It was that,
There's something else that came out with musicians during the pandemic. That's the other part I wanted to mention is that, so I don't know if you guys ever heard of the band The Ataris.
Yes.
Vaguely, yeah.
So, all right, I like how Vicky gave the thumbs up. That makes me happy about this. So the lead singer for The Ataris, Chris Rowe, I've seen him in concert before. The guy's just a really nice guy. He works his own merch table. The Ataris had some success in the mid 2000s, but have kind of fallen out of favor since then. They're really just bands that play local gigs. You'll never see them in a big stadium. The pandemic was probably one of the best things that could have happened to The Ataris and Chris Rowe because he would just do live streams where, and this is one of the coolest things I saw a musician do. He would do a live stream where he would just play acoustic versions of all of his best songs. So he would just go on and play everything off of So Long Astoria, but in between he's talking to all of his fans and giving insight to what his thought process was when he wrote the song initially. I think one of the streams he talked about his divorce and how that messed him up. But he got really personal in a lot of this stuff, and it was really kind of cool. And it's something where I'm as far as concerts go, I've been to a few in my life, and I don't know if I'd really go to another concert again. Not even because of COVID. Even if COVID never happened, it's look, you know, a lot of concerts, it's like, just, I can have the concert I want by just picking like 10 or 15 of the songs that I like from a band and just playing them. You know, it's hearing them live.
You don't care about the in-person energy anymore.
I mean, it would have to really excite me. Like, I would have to see, like, Newfound Glory and Blink-182 would have to be at the same concert together for me to be like, I want to go. But at the same time, I'd be like, oh, please do it at, like, the Camden Arena so that I could get lawn seats and just fucking sit down the entire time because I'm old. But
yeah,
but
feel that in my bones.
Even though I might not attend another concert, I would definitely tune into a live stream of a musician I like, just to see, like, you know, like, again, like if Mark Hoppus from Blink-182 just did like a live stream where he played like music, and talked about the band and what went on, I would tune into that. I'd throw money at him. I'd donate, because that I feel is a better experience to a degree, because yeah, you're getting the music just like you would at a concert, but you also have people interacting with, you know, the talent that you like. You get to actually ask questions. You get to pick his brain a bit and find out things about the band that maybe you didn't know. I feel like that's kind of a neat experience that the pandemic opened up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I think the answer is obvious. It's because it's low effort on both parties. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that it doesn't, you don't need a venue. You don't need people to man the concession stands and stuff. You don't have to pay all these people. And you get a very unique experience for free. And that's easy for both the artist and for the person watching.
Yeah, and you can get content that you might otherwise not have gotten. I remember churches. They had
the chicken place.
No,
churches are free.
No, I remember churches. The band.
Okay.
I
thought you meant like actual churches.
No, churches
yes.
with a V.
Yeah.
Okay, churches with a V, got it.
But I remember they had a concert from home, and they did an acoustic version of Death Stranding, and it was it was my favorite, like one of my favorite things they put out, and that was a concert from home. So, yeah, that's like I actually used it in the game. If you do certain things, you can hear it. So
nice.
Cool.
I will say this, and this is an interesting thing, with COVID restrictions coming down, with cases coming down, my orchestra is having a concert in the middle of April, and we're on track to have this in-person concert. We're going to unfortunately restrict attendance due to both space constraints. We're back in a venue where, because our orchestra is a bit larger, we don't have as many places to physically put people. And so we're limiting it to, like, you can bring some immediate family members, but you can't, like, invite the world like we used to encourage. But the main way we're making up for this is we are hiring a very, very incredibly beautifully skilled videographer to record our concert.
Yeah, I want to do that.
I wonder who that is.
Well, you're too kind, Dave.
Dave, you hired a very unskilled videographer to replace Tina.
Wow.
Well,
we replaced Tino with this asshole named Andrew.
Oh no, Tino, I'm sorry. Tino, come back.
Tino out of existence.
Yo, that was hilarious. That was like the magician in the box.
I didn't really.
well, you're
he just suddenly disappeared,
Camden.
but like the background was still there.
Tino, the only thing I don't regret is the cool visual that you gave us by like going behind the screen. But that was mean of me. I apologize.
That was mean.
So yeah, no, we've hired. So the main reason we hired Tino though is because he has worked very well for us in the past, and because the wonderful videos he produces are melded with recorded audio that we can help people view our concerts at home well after the fact, and maybe encourage them to throw money in our general direction.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say is that, like, if you have a video project that you need to do, and you know what? How about time for a little commercial break? if you have a video project you need to do,
We're probably ending this soon.
Steve,
it is 9:30 and I am hungry.
You know what, Steve? Shut the fuck up.
Wow.
If you have a video project that you need help working on, Andrew Valentino is available for hire. I guess if he wants to, he will put his information in the description.
He's very easy to work with, very receptive, gives guidance when needed, and takes guidance when needed. So, I can attest that Tino is great to work with.
He's also incredibly professional, and he's not a sexual predator like the video game.
Thanks. Those are my qualifications. I'm not a sexual predator.
You would be surprised at how far that goes.
Yeah, Tino, believe it or not, that actually counts for quite a lot these days.
That's sad.
Oh, my Lord. Yes, it does.
All right, it's time to end this podcast. We're done. It's over.
Yeah, this podcast is over. Goodbye, America.
Wait, real quick, before we end, I do want to tell a quick gatekeeping story that was funny, and it ties into Elden Ring.
Okay.
All right, so obviously,
don't keep it quick. Don't make it Will Augustine long. Okay.
All right. I'm trying to take a shot back after I told you to shut your mouth.
Yeah, I am.
You shut your mouth. So obviously we all know and remember that the author of Berserk died last year. And we all know that Elden Ring is chock full of Berserk references. You could literally just use a character creator to make almost any character from Berserk, from what I've heard. So interesting thing, because Elden Ring is chock full of Berserk references, as Vicky would call them, normies have been finding out about Berserk. And they've taken to Twitter because now they want to cancel Berserk for being violent, misogynist snuff.
Those are fake. Like, they found those are fake, man.
Oh.
No, not all of them. Not all of them. I can tell you how I know. I'm in a Berserk fan group on Facebook, and I've watched over the past week screenshots from the raid. So there have been groups of people who are Berserk fans who have taken this to heart. They're like, oh, they're trying to cancel Berserk like a year after the creator died, and right as Elden Ring is paying tribute. Well, let's find out these people and what we can do about this. So they've looked at the Twitter accounts of some of the people who have been posting this shit, right? And they found out the groups that they're fans of. One of them was a screenshot of Berserk fans entering a Steven Universe fan group because one of the posters was there.
That is too on point. It has to be fake. It has to be bait, man.
And posting their own fan art of the Steven Universe characters going through the eclipse.
Okay, so they responded to teenagers being stupid by being fucked up about it.
That's
if they're really upset about Berserk, why don't they go talk to the creator about it? Oh wait, he's dead. So what is wrong? What do you care?
I don't know. I just found it very funny and amusing that it's literally I saw this, and within days the mobilization occurred, and I'm just watching the screenshots flood in.
Why did you need to mobilize when there's literally a person they will listen to making an argument in their favor?
I didn't.
It's just people need something to do, you know? Do they really this shit is stupid.
It is. Listen, I'm going to say this.
But it's been funny to watch the fallout.
Yeah, no, it's funny because you enjoy fucking stupid misery porn of dumb teenagers getting owned.
Oh, it's not even that. It's not even that. Here's why I find it so funny. It's because the reaction from the fan group has reminded me a lot of if you've ever heard the old radio show Opie and Anthony, of how the pests would just swarm on they would do this bit called Jocktober, where the pests would go to the Facebook page of another radio show and just post photos tormenting them and fucking with them. And literally it's almost like if you watch the movie Willard, when the rats swarm, and I'm watching this again and I'm just getting those old vibes, okay, let's see where this goes. Look, here's the thing. There's nothing I could say or do to stop.
Sure.
I could try.
Yeah.
I'll get I'll get
But
nowhere.
do you enjoy watching rats? Do you enjoy watching rats pick a corpse clean?
You know what? It's not that I enjoy watching them torment someone else as much as it is I was impressed by the mobilization, and I couldn't help. Like, it's almost like when you're watching a train wreck and you can't look away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a tragedy. I mean, think of it this way. It's the same way that, if you watch the news over the past few weeks about Ukraine, you can't shut off the footage. You want to watch and see, oh, there's another air raid siren. Oh, this is a bombed out building that just got hit by a missile. Here's the latest update from Zelensky and everything going on over there. When something tragic is happening, I don't know if it's everyone, but there's a program that just causes people to tune in and watch.
I mean, yeah, people like watching footage of horrible things happening.
It's
I'm just
biologically
saying-
motivated threat assessment. That's what it is.
It is, and I'll tell you this. Listen,
hold on, Tino, I didn't hear.
I said it's biologically motivated threat assessment. If you think something horrible is happening, you're programmed to want to pay attention to it because it could potentially pose a threat to you. So you have to watch it like a hawk.
So it's like a self-defense preservation thing?
Yeah, it's a self-defense mechanism.
You're wondering if they're gonna shoot a bomb at you, even though you're like thousands of miles away.
Right.
But it could happen.
But yes, but your subconscious doesn't know that.
Right.
That's why at age 12, and I am not shitting you, and I'm sorry to derail this, that's why at age 12, when I, every weekend or so, or every other weekend, my brother would babysit me. He lived in Delaware. That's why every other weekend, I was banned from watching the Weather Channel. Because I'd watch the Weather Channel, hear about a storm somewhere. I'm going somewhere with this. I'd go out onto the balcony and stare at the Delaware River, wondering when shit was going to go down. Like, those waves look kind of choppy. And I'm just...
Storms are brewing.
I was having panic attacks.
So
you are describing the beginning of a disaster movie.
Vicky was walking on the widow's perch, just like, all right, any day now.
The moral of the story
she was the scientist with the voice of reason that no one listened to until it was too late.
That cloud
Cassandra,
is a weird
literally
shape.
Cassandra.
That cloud's a weird fucking shape.
The moral of the story is that whatever wasn't fake of those comments, Will, was teenagers. And yeah, and so they've learned a lesson about never criticize Berserk ever, apparently. All I'm going to say is that if you want to know more about why you should love and enjoy Berserk, there is a YouTuber named Lady Emily who has done a very wonderful essay on the many adaptations of Berserk that she started before Miura passed away and was working on while he passed away. And it ends with a very lovely tribute to him and to what the series means to the essay author personally and what it meant to a lot of people. And so if you want to understand why people are into this manga about a dude with a giant sword, go check that out and then go read the damn manga.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just read Berserk, because I started picking Berserk up years ago and I haven't regretted it. And I've stalled reading it because I don't want to get to the ending.
Get to the ending. Get to the...
Yeah, I know.
Get to the ending. You owe that to yourself.
No, I know. It's just it's like it's gonna. I know it's gonna be a bittersweet thing. So.
It'll be a bittersweet thing.
So I mean, I really enjoyed this topic, but I want to know, Tino, did you have any more thoughts or questions for Vicky? And don't lie to me, or I'll know.
Tino, I will tell you this. Tino, I gotta tell you this, and this is definitely like directly related to what we're talking about. So there's a really specific game that we all know about, and it does not have rollback net code, and it's called Kingdom Hearts, so fuck Kingdom Hearts.
Shitty ass game.
Yeah! America, you are welcome. Good night.
Sorry.
Wait, real quick. I want to tell you something. You all there? Everyone still good?
Here.
Yeah, I leaned in.
All right, so there's a video online that's 5 hours long, and it's a guy that goes on for 5 hours and says Kingdom Hearts wasn't worth it.
So it's
yeah,
Kingdom Hearts 3 wasn't worth it.
It's Kingdom Hearts
Just Kingdom Hearts 3. Not even the franchise. But he goes on for 5 hours. That guy was hurt in ways that I can't even describe.
Show me on the DualShock where Kingdom Hearts touched you.
All my thumbs.
The X button repeatedly.
Yeah.
Got
Anyway,
him.
good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.